Okay, hello everybody. Today I'm going to show you the first video on how to do the Razorblade model. So in our student share folder is the old tutorial for the Razorblade. So um, just get into here, Rosen, pickup, CAD, and then Razorblade tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to open up part 0, and this is an old Rhino 4 tutorial, but it's a good tutorial. It's just a really well written tutorial. It's actually Rhino 3. Okay, so this is the Razorblade we'll be modeling. Okay, we'll be modeling it from some concept sketches, and let's get started. So I'm going to go back to the Razorblade tutorial, open up part 1. Okay, and here is a picture of one of the renderings. You can see it's a flamingo rendering of the Razorblade. So they tell you here a little bit of the introduction that Rhino is used by industrial designers who make products. And you could do designing, visualization, mock-up creation, tooling for CNC work or 3D printing. You can visualize your design and share it with other people, and they can critique it, and it's a lot easier if it's in 3D. So they tell you what the requirements are and what you're going to be doing: curve creation, editing curves, surfaces, editing surfaces, and then rendering, which is kind of what we did for the wheel project. Okay, so they continue on, and so here are some sketches. So this is an illustration, and this would be an example of what a professional designer would do. They would be, say, working for Stanley Tools, who make box cutters and razor blades, and this one is used by like the hobby craft industry and also shipping industry, where once the blade gets dull, you can just snap it off and replace it, and you'll have a brand new sharp edge here. And you just keep on pushing this and using this until you need to replace all of a new blade, which has many different sections. So here, the colored sketch, looks like a Sharpie or watercolor. Here's a top view sketch, an isometric, another isometric. You can see the glass box here. Okay, so we're going to set up our background bitmap. So that's this. It's an image of the illustration that we're going to use to trace it. So we have some good proportions to work with. Okay, we're going to be working with millimeters in the metric system for this tutorial. So I have Rhino open here. I'm going to right-click on the unit settings here down in millimeters. And I'm in millimeters already, but you would just go from, inches to millimeters. Okay. Then we're going to change the grid tab. The grid settings. So I'm going to right-click on Grid Snap and go to Settings. And I'm going to change this for a total line count of 200 inches. Minor grid lines is going to be at every 10 millimeters. Major will be at every 5 minor, and snap spacing is 1. So it's 200, 10, 5, 1. And that should give me a grid in my top view. Whoop, that doesn't look right. Let me just pause this. I'm going to come right back. Okay. So, sorry, it was 20, 10, 5, 1. Okay, so now I could see here that my grid, we set it this way so that it's not overly cluttered with grid squares. Okay, so in the tutorial, the part 1, we're going to put in this background bitmap. So I'm going to, in the top view, right-click on top and go to background bitmap place. And I am going to go to the student share. So this PC, student share, Rosen, pickup, CAD, and then Razorblade tutorial, and it'll be the only image in there. The Razorblade print screen. So the background bitmap is going to ask me here, what's the first corner? So make sure my grid snap is on. I want the first corner to be the origin. And then the second corner, I'm going to set it to be the end of the grid. And I have a nice background bitmap now. So what this is, it's not a surface. It's just it's an image that you can't click on. And the only way you could really modify it is by modifying it here, and you really can't do too much with it. So we're going to use this to trace. So I'm going to go back to my PDF, and I'm done with part 1. I'm going to now open up part 2, which is rather long. So first what we're going to do is we are going to, and you can see here, they say that they're going to show you how to make some curves, and they're going to extend them away from the ends. This will make more sense later on in the tutorial. So they're kind of saying, just do what I have done, and you'll see why we're doing it later. And I'm going to try to fill in those gaps. So I would recommend that you match the same layer color and look closely at the tutorial. So I'm going to take a control point curve. I'm going to make I'm going to change this layer color to red. I'm going to make sure that my grid snap is off, and I'll turn off my object snap. And in the top view, I'm going to trace this outside body edge. So I'm going to start a little bit forward of it. And I was a little bit too high, so I'll just hit escape, right click. So I'm going to go down here. There we go, that looks better. You want to try to click the least amount of times possible, because if you click too much, if you start clicking too much like this, you can see it gets all bumpy, right? You don't want to do that. So let me just do undo, 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 undo. Okay. So we'll go right here. And then a couple more clicks around the corners. I don't like that point. I'll undo that. Whoop. I guess I will need a point there. I'll undo that one too. So I'll go right here. There we go. That's better. I like to do this technique where you like kind of hop and lay it down. So hop over, kind of lay it down. Okay, and then now I'm going to make my boomerang line. Now I don't know, is the boomerang line going to be on the blade holder or the razor blade body? So we'll refer back to here, and it's on the razor blade body. Okay, so I'll do this, razor blade body. I'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4 clicks. Okay, so now they're telling us that we need to do an offset curve command and offset it to 3.5 inches and, 3.5 millimeters. We're going to offset it 3.5 millimeters inside. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'll activate it. I will make it blue. And I will do a curve, offset curve. And I'll offset this distance of 3.5. Enter. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, now what you should do is explode this. They don't tell you to do this in the tutorial, but I could see really right over here that when this tried to offset, this was too pointy, and so mathematically it couldn't figure it out, so it just gave me a a pointed corner. So I'm going to explode this and then deal with those corners. So exploded the curve into 2 segments. Okay, so what I'll do to round this over is I think a simple fillet would be perfect. So curve, fillet curve, and then it says select first curve to fillet. The radius is 1. Okay, so I'm going to do probably a radius of like 2. First curve to fillet will be this one. Second curve to fillet will be this one. It looks pretty good. Looks kind of parallel. Okay, let's save this. This is an untitled, so I'm going to do a file, save as, and I'll do my OneDrive. And then Rhino drawings. Razorblade. Ooh, I have a lot of razor blades. Okay, so now in the tutorial, whoops, we are going to make these 4 curves. So there are 3 big ones, and they're copied from each other, and there's 1 small one way up in the front here. So they could be a little tricky when you're modeling them because you don't really know what you're doing in relation to something else. If I had to model them in this view, I think it'd be a little bit tricky because I don't know the sizes. So I found a little workaround. So I'm going to turn on my ortho, and I'm going to do let's see what color they're using. All right, they're using purple. So I am going to make a control point curve with ortho on. Let me just double check one last thing. I think you're just using blue. And when I look at this, this line goes right through the blade holder. This one goes through the 3rd niche for the knuckle, like notch for the knuckle. And then this one goes through the corner of the carabiner, and then this one goes all the way out in the back. Okay, so what we're going to do with these curves is eventually get them to be curves, and then do this operation. So control point curve, ortho on, I'm going to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll do it again. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go back. So small one right here, and then my first big one. And I'll copy those over. So when I look at this in my right side view, there's no control point curves. These are totally flat curves. So I'm going to turn on edit points on, and I'm going to get these points and pull them up. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to take these and get them to be the same arc as the tutorial here. My big arc right here, steep in the front, slanted in the back. Right-click on Edit Points Off, and then I'm going to click on this bigger one here, Edit Points On, take my point, ortho off, Okay. I'm going to take this curve and copy it right from here. I'll hold down Shift. You'll see ortho turns on there. I'll put one right by the carabiner and one right at the end here. Okay, so now I have these small arc and then 3 big arcs. Okay, check the tutorial. Small arc, 1, 2, 3 big ones. We're going to do this command called loft. This is where you flow a surface through a series of curves. This really put Rhinoceros on the map for their modeling. In the past, nobody really knew how to make organic surfaces or pillowy surfaces, and Rhino figured it out with a mathematical formula. It's actually called non-uniform rational B-splines. Okay, and it's a here you go. See the points, see the curve, and it's used for computer graphics and so forth. And NURBS modeling, it's called non-uniform rational B-splines. And Rhinoceros is, you know, they kind of figured it out. So surface, loft, select curves to loft. You're going to click on the tops of each of these curves and then press enter. We're going to do a normal loft, okay? And I'm going to just go here and go into a shaded display so you can see it. There's the surface. It looks good. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to take it, and in the tutorial, they now say to mirror it. I'm sorry. They tell me to, here they tell me to split and then delete. We can just trim. So they want us to select the cutting objects, which is the offsetted curve. So this offsetted curve here. So I'm going to just take trim. Let me go into a ghosted display. Cutting objects is this. Oops. I have to go back to wireframe and address this. I forgot to join that. You see that? Okay, so join 1, 2, 3. Good. Enter. So now this is a nice big open curve. I think it's good. Yep. And trim. Cutting objects is this. Goes to display. Objects to trim is that. Okay. Now I'm going to mirror it across the x-axis. Okay. So if you click and hold down on the move tool, you can go right to here to mirror. Select objects to mirror is this. Start of mirror plane. Grid snap has to be on. I'm sorry, it's my y-axis or my x-axis, yeah. And I'm gonna go right over here. Okay. I would clean up your layers. So I'm gonna take the I'm gonna make a new layer, and in the tutorial, this is they're making this gray. Okay, I'm gonna make a layer that's gonna be, I think I'll do bright green. I'm gonna call this curves, and I'm gonna use a command right here called selcrv, and that is select curves. So SEL for select and then CRV for curves. It selects all my curves, and then I'm gonna just put them into my curve layer and then hide my curve layer. So all I see is this. You're going to want to do this from time to time because we're going to be using edges of surfaces instead of curves. Okay, so sorry, I was a little, was not my best video, but I was a little bit slow in the beginning. And thanks for watching. Okay, take care.